It's 0 Dark 30 and your 12-man recon team is moving silently to the outskirts of an enemy-held town. Your job is simple: scout out the perimeter of the town, fix enemy security checkpoints and defensive works, and then get the hell out of Dodge. Easy peasy, just another night of playing tourist in the most dangerous place on Earth. You approach the town from the southwest, allowing you and your team the advantage of high ground. As you near the bluffs that overlook the target, you're careful to move swiftly but silently. The bluffs offer an almost perfect vantage point on the town below, and you fully expect that some enemy security presence may be present, so your team stops a few hundred meters from the edge. Silently slipping the tactical backpack you carry off your shoulder, you quickly grab your thermal night vision monocular viewer and snap it onto the mount on your helmet, then flip it down to get a good view of the terrain ahead of you. Because of the town's lights in front of you, your regular night vision would be useless, creating huge glare that would blind you. The thermal viewer, however, doesn't care about ambient light too much, and any warm bodies would stand out like a blazing torch against the cool desert floor. To your surprise, you spot nothing. The enemy failed to post security personnel on the most glaring security vulnerability overlooking their town. Well, their mistake is your gain, and you signal the all clear to your team with hand and arm signals. The enemy is relatively unsophisticated and obviously not very well trained, but you can't risk that they may have a radio frequency locator, and thus you have to wait for your hand and arm signals to be relayed down the chain of soldiers. Sure, your throat mic can be set to a relatively low power setting, so it's more difficult to pinpoint with an RF locator, but why take the risk? You and your team edge up closer to the bluffs and are finally able to oversee the town below. The first buildings start about 200 meters from the base of the bluffs, and you spot an armed checkpoint at what appears to be a main road to the town roughly half a mile away. You dig into your backpack once more, this time digging out a pair of thermal binoculars. With their help, you're able to scope out the rooftops directly ahead of you, looking for fixed enemy positions. Sure enough, you spot them. At least 2 machine gun emplacements situated on the roofs of 2 of the tallest buildings on the edge of the town. Your designated comms guy makes a quick note in a field notebook, and those notes are copied by 4 other men. If one of them ends up buying the farm, the intelligence will still be recorded in the field notes of at least 4 other soldiers. Your vantage point overlooks the town so well, you're able to mark down several other security features. Once you've got a good tactical picture as you can get from your vantage point, you once more dig into your backpack and pull out your tactical data pad, pulling up satellite imagery of the town that you downloaded back at the base. Using the pad's stylus, you make quick notes on the image of enemy defensive emplacements and other notes of interest. Your communications guy digs into his own backpack and removes a foldable antenna, quickly setting it up and pointing it at the night sky. Radio emissions can be easily tracked by enemy electronic warfare agents, but satellite communications rely on direct links that can be much harder to detect. Within minutes, you're uploading your info on your datapad to the US Milstar satellite network. And just in case something goes wrong with the upload, 5 of you have pen and paper backups on your person. You receive a return ping over your comm gear and are asked to stand by for new orders. It's been a long hike from the Blackhawks that stealthily deposited you a few clicks away and out of earshot, so you dig into your backpack once more and pull out a modified MRE. These aren't your standard MREs, they're slightly smaller, and instead of full-blown meals, they're mostly made up of packets containing extremely high-calorie energy gels. Vitamin and mineral supplements round out the meal, and it's all very compact and designed to be eaten on the fly with no preparation. The gel tastes vaguely like lemon, but mostly like wet hot ass. What it lacks in taste, it makes up in rich stores of fat and energy, exactly what you need to keep your body going. Over the satellite comms gear, you finally get word back. The brass have decided that they don't want to just take a look-see at the town anymore. They want to hit it and hit it hard. And now your mission has moved from recon to preparing the valley below for an all-out war. An air assault element is already packing into Blackhawks and Ospreys, and they plan to land a contingent on the opposite side of the town to act as a distraction, while another contingent gets dropped smack dab in the very center. Your job is simple: neutralize the ability for the enemy on your side of the town to respond. Ah, hell, you think to yourself, leave it to the army to throw a perfectly good plan straight out the window. You and your 2 squad leaders take inventory of the equipment and go over intelligence you have on the enemy below. Drawing up a rough plan, you quickly move to execute it, knowing that the air assault is already on its way. From the side of your backpack, you unlatch a long length of rope, and from a side pocket, you remove the gear needed to rappel down the side of the bluffs. You don't have anything strong to anchor the rope to, so you hand one end of it to a teammate who wraps it around himself a few times and then lays down, feet toward the edge of the bluff. He's your anchor as you roll out over the edge, trying your best to be as silent as you can be, while moving as quickly as possible to rappel to the bottom of the bluff. Up above, your teammate grunts with the exertion, but to your relief, doesn't lose his grip on the rope. One by one, a full squad of you makes the descent, leaving a second squad up on top. You previously identified a good wadi that runs to the nearest buildings and keeps you out of sight, and you make haste using your night vision monoculars instead of flashlights. Reaching the edge of the buildings, you work your way up toward the checkpoint you spotted earlier. Silently exchanging hand and arm signals, you and another of your teammates remove several bricks of C4 explosives from your backpack and begin preparing them for remote detonation. Another man removes 4 Claymore anti-personnel mines and gives them a quick look over. A devastating weapon, the Claymore features a wall of C4 placed directly behind over 700 steel pellets. The weapon is so devastating that it can even destroy lightly armored vehicles. Stealth is the name of the game, and once more you move forward. The enemy has a small pool of armored vehicles, 100 or so meters behind the checkpoint to the entrance of the town, and you move through the shadows depositing bricks of C4 along the rows of vehicles. On the other side of the motor pool, your teammate mirrors the move. Next, the squaddie with the claymores begins to set them up facing what looks like a makeshift barracks. He runs a long det cord from each mine to a position 40 meters back. The ambush is set, and as you hurry back to a fighting position, you can already hear the soft but distinctive sound of helicopter rotors in the distance. The enemy, though, is also starting to hear it. Shouts of alarm ring out, and men rush out of the barracks and straight into the roaring blast of the first Claymore mine. Steel pellets shower the area at a speed of 3,937 feet per second, absolutely shredding anyone caught in their path. A second Claymore goes off a moment later, ensuring no survivors. Not long after, the C4 placed amongst the vehicles in the motor pool begins to blow in rapid succession, devastating the fighting vehicles there. The sound of rotors is much stronger now, and up on the rooftops, a crew works to prepare an anti-aircraft cannon to fire. However, from up on the bluff outside of town, one of your soldiers has removed a laser target designator from their own backpack and has been marking the anti-aircraft gun for the last 30 seconds. Tens of thousands of feet above, a U.S. Air Force Reaper drone fires off a single Hellfire missile. The missile's intelligent seeker locks onto the laser's designator beam and rides it directly to its target, obliterating the enemy position. Enemy forces have spotted you and your team, though, and the dark alleyways have turned into a shooting gallery. A third and then a fourth Claymore explosion devastates a group of enemy soldiers rushing after you, but there's still more, and they're opening up on you and your team with everything they've got. As you return fire, you suddenly recoil and fall back as red-hot searing pain explodes across your forehead. Panicking, you put a hand up to your forehead, but realize that no, you haven't been shot. An enemy round has impacted on the concrete wall right next to you, showering your face with shards of razor-sharp concrete. The team medic digs into his backpack and quickly removes his field first aid kit. He washes your wound with the saline solution to wash away the shards, then uses tweezers to remove any still stuck in your flesh. Then he applies a quick dry chemical paste to your wounds, drying in seconds and sealing them to prevent further bleeding or infection. Another one of your teammates, though, is less lucky than you and takes an actual round on the thigh. The man is dragged behind cover as the medic digs into his backpack once again. This time, though, he removes a large syringe-like device. It almost looks like a miniature Colt gun as he plunges the end of it into the wound, depressing the plunger. The soldier screams briefly, but as the medic removes the device, the wound is filled with quickly hardening foam. This wound, too, is instantly sealed, and the medic turns to treat the other wounded. Somewhere in the city, the assault is in full progress, and it seems like the entire valley has erupted in gunfire. Circling overhead, Apache helicopters provide close air support, often guided on target by the laser target designators of your teammates on the bluffs above the town. Rockets, missiles, and even the big autocannons on the nose of the Apaches all home in on the thin laser beam, shredding any enemy positions the beam encounters. You can hear the distant sound of rumbling engines and realize that the enemy is moving on your position with whatever vehicles they have left. Once more whipping out your thermal binoculars, you spot the telltale glow of vehicles moving down a wide street and coming straight at you. You can't quite tell yet, but they look like Soviet-style BMP armored personnel carriers, way more than you're equipped to handle. You confer with your team and take a quick stock of all your remaining inventory. One of your guys has a recoilless rifle, but that won't stop all 6 BMPs currently coming your way. You start preparing for a very fast retreat when suddenly you hear the sweetest sound in the world. It's a sound like the world being torn in two, and the effect on the enemy BMPs is immediate. Cannon shells from an A-10 firing overhead rip through the armored vehicles, destroying them in seconds. The A-10's engines roar as the plane banks and wheels, coming around for a follow-up strafing run. After the second attack, there's no more movement from the vehicles below. On the streets, though, ammo is getting low and you're grateful for the several extra magazines you've stashed away in your backpacks. You weren't supposed to need it, but it pays to stay prepared. Behind you, the team medic goes about his job, administering further treatment to the injured with medicines and tools from his own backpacks. Finally, after what seems like an eternity of battle, the gunfire begins to ebb out. The enemy is surrendering, completely overwhelmed by the surprise attack. Over the radio net, you get a call from your comms guy. Friendly forces are approaching your position. Digging once more into your backpack, you allow yourself to relax as you slide down to the ground, back to a wall, and take a long drink from your canteen. Now that you know what soldiers carry into battle, why not check out our other video, How I Survived a War Zone? Or perhaps you'd prefer this other video instead. Either way, click one now and keep that adrenaline pumping.